We are now 2.5 months away from my deadline. Time is running. I only have about 10 pages written. It's getting tough to keep moving forward. For the moment, I have my structure. I know where I want to go. It's just a matter of now doing the research and writing about the stuff I decided to write about. So maybe in this video I can tell you about what I've decided. What I've decided to do is I have a goal. My goal is to understand what the limitations are for the sustainable application of biomimicry today in projects. One of the things that I've noticed is that sustainability is a bit of a blurry subject when it comes to biomimicry. So we do talk about it. It is a huge part of the philosophy of biomimicry. Biomimicry is inherently sustainable in its thought, in its philosophy. But when it comes to applying biomimicry, it gets a lot more complicated because of other factors. And so what I want to do with this research is understand what these factors are, where they come from, what are the things that are hindering the application of a sustainable kind of biomimicry. To understand all these things, I thought, all right, I need to study what sustainability is, I need to study what biomimicry is, and then I need to study what those blockers are. I'm going to be proceeding in a number of different ways. What I'm thinking of doing is, after I've actually finished my thesis and handed it in, I want to release videos for each section. So I have 3 parts, 3 sections, and so I want to release a video for each section that kind of explains, firstly, the references, the things that I read. Maybe that would be interesting for you guys. So let me know if that kind of format would interest you. So like 1 video for each section. That way I can get into details and I can read some passages to you. All right, so quick little update on my thesis stuff. My book is still here, still using this. It's getting filled up pretty nicely. This is the final structure, or close to the final structure of my thesis. So I made these little post-its with my structure. And I've decided my thesis is going to be cut up into 3 parts. So part 1 has the first little section, what is sustainability and why do we need it? Or what is sustainability and what is its impact on living beings? The second subpart of part 1 is sustainability through history. So I want to look at how people have evolved with this relationship and how the relationship has evolved and how the term sustainability has evolved through the ages. Were we ever talking about sustainability before the 60s or before the 20th century? I don't know, I'm not sure. So I really want to explore all of that baggage that sustainability holds. If we had thought about sustainability, then do we have any ways of dealing with it? Maybe our ancestors already found these solutions and we just need to apply them today. Third little final section of part 1 is measuring sustainability. So how do we today, without trying to find any solutions, how do we today, what tools do we use, what metrics do we use to measure sustainability? So for example, a huge metric we use is CO2 levels. So measuring CO2 levels can show us how sustainable something is, maybe. But maybe the way that we're measuring sustainability is also part of the problem. So what tools are we using and how are we using them is the big question in this section. Part 2 is more around biomimicry. So as I'm studying biomimicry, I'm really interested in finding out why aren't biomimicry projects yielding sustainable results and even regenerative results? Is it because of the methodology? And so that's what I'm looking at here. In part 2, I'm looking at existing strategies for the sustainable application of biomimicry. Application and the projects that are coming out of this biomimicry methodology are not necessarily the most sustainable, are not necessarily contributing to anything in nature. What I want to look at is how biomimicry and how people who are applying biomimicry are utilizing what tools they're utilizing to make sure that they are having a sustainable result. Subpart 1 is more like just explaining what biomimicry is, what it is today in 2022. What is biomimicry today? Subsection 3 of part 2 is I want to take an existing project that followed the biomimicry methodology, and I want to look at what points, what mechanisms, what things, what tools in this project led to a sustainable outcome. It's tough trying to find a project, trying to pick a project. We'll see what happens with that. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Hopefully something good will come out of it. And to finish off on part 3, I'm really focusing on these blockers, on these things that are hindering the sustainable outcomes. Basically in part 2, what I'm doing is looking at biomimicry methodologies and seeing if the issue lies there. And in part 3, I'm concluding that the issue might be in the methodology, but it also comes from external factors. And so these are the factors that I'm looking at in part 3. Financial reasons can be the issue. So a company not wanting to, spend money on a sustainability project, on a project that is going to make their products more sustainable. Now that there's more pressure on companies, they are probably a little more willing to, but a lot of them don't understand that they're going to be saving money in the long term, and the whole world will be saving money in the long term, but that's besides the point. Financial reasons can be a big blocker in sustainability projects, sustainable outcomes. Then you also have strategic reasons. So the company strategy, maybe the company doesn't want to change its strategy to adopt more virtuous and more sustainable methods, organizations, and also projects. The way that I'm going to start this part is by sending out a survey to biomimicry professionals, so people who use biomimicry in their professional lives, so that they can answer a list of questions that I've prepared, where I try to find out what they've identified as blockers in their professions. Having that professional opinion from experts or from people who actually use these tools will be very, very rich in results, and it's going to be really cool. And so subsection 2 of part 3 is where I want to take these results and see, okay, well, these are the issues, and then open up the end of my thesis by saying, well, through this thesis, we were able to identify a few factors, a few external factors of the biomimicry methodologies that are contributing to the lack of sustainability. What would be really interesting is taking each problem and trying to find solutions to how we can remedy these things, and in order to push biomimicry forward, and in order to make sure that it's being adopted so that people will, because biomimicry, there's so many things to say, but this is basically the structure.
What we could do now is I could read the first couple of pages to you.
Let's get into it. I'm just going to read to you a bit of part 1, section 1. So this is the part where I define what sustainability is. Let's get right into it. Sustainability is a word we have been using excessively since the 1980s and has truly been heard everywhere in the last few years. It is used at every occasion and without context, at which point it loses its meaning. The term is derived from the Latin sustinere, which means to hold. The root of the word, sustain, can mean to maintain, support, uphold, or endure. These terms all hold the notion of time passing. The first use of the term sustainability was linked to silviculture. A commonly accepted definition of sustainable development was defined during the World Commission on Environment and Development in 1987 in the Brundtland Report. The Commission defined it as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. This definition presents us with a time frame of a few human generations that each have to account for the resource availability of the next generation. The Oxford Dictionary defines sustainability as the property of being environmentally sustainable, the degree to which a process or enterprise is able to be maintained or continued while avoiding the long-term depletion of natural resources. We can also look at the writings of Cameron Brick, professor of psychology at the University of Amsterdam, who defines sustainability as a balanced system in which we need to put in as much as we take out. According to him, we are wildly unsustainable because of an unbalanced, excessive use of resources. We have also imagined ways in which to represent sustainability. Johan Rockstorp, former director of the Stockholm Resilience Center, along with a group of 28 internationally renowned scientists, created the planetary boundaries model in 2009. They identified 9 boundaries not to cross if we want to maintain balance in the biosphere. Economist Kate Raworth used this planetary boundaries framework to theorize a circular economy called donut economics. This model shows the planetary and social limits to respect in order for humans to thrive on Earth. Both of these representations bring a higher level of understanding of sustainability by including multiple sectors and spaces in one concept. These representations enable a holistic view of the bigger system in which we evolve. They enable a visualization of our limits and our playing field. We have a better understanding of what can be a very abstract concept.
Today we are sitting down again, another day, working on the thesis. I've printed out a bunch of papers that I want to read. There's one called The Elephant in the Room, Biomimetics and Sustainability. So this is really just like the subject of my thesis. Otherwise, I also am looking into the historical roots of sustainability. It's really exciting to see that sustainability is not a new issue. It's important to be reminded of what's happened in the past already so that we can see how to move forward. So look at the errors that we made in the past when trying to tackle sustainability and avoid doing them again and trying to find better ways to move forward. Today I'm also going to read the newest IPCC report that talks about all these solutions that we could put in place that could help mitigate some of the issues that we're causing, some of the changes that we're causing. That will have impacts on all of us, on our human lives, on all the ecosystems around us. I'm excited to read it. I will put the name of all the papers that I've been reading in the bio if that's something you're interested in. Stay tuned for more. I will definitely be posting those videos soon. And subscribe to my channel if this is something that's interesting to you, if maybe you're going to start writing a thesis soon or you're just interested in this topic.